and recording this. Then if you guys have like a second screen, I recommend opening Facebook, and then so you can see the comments come in live time, because we have two audiences, one on Zoom and one on Facebook, and then you can do Q&A on both.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think we have everyone. Let me double check real quick. Attendees 12. Yeah. So we have everyone here today. Well, thank you for joining us today. Today we really like a second screen. I recommend opening Facebook. Here, I'm gonna mute everyone real quick. Cool. Well, today we're gonna be talking about the market shift, because after being in a couple of masterminds this week, there is huge recession talk, and a lot of agents also agree that prices are starting to dip. So we've gathered this bunch of really experienced agents and lenders and managers and broker owners and people who have done a lot of business before the crash and after the crash to give their insight on what to expect right now. So Elmer, why don't you lead us off, Elmer? Mute.
Okay, so we're sharing a little bit about who we are. So I'm Elmer Morales, run a brokerage, eHomes, out of Southern California. We have about a little over 20 agents. Did about 200 transactions last year. And I got licensed in 01, so I did survive the 2008 crash. Lost everything, got cleaned out, so that was a little bit different for me. But landed an REO account that got me out of it. I had to work really hard to get that done. And now, just started building a team 2013, and here we are now going through COVID, and doing really well right now, surprisingly so. Didn't expect that when this first launched, but like I was sharing with the rest of the panelists, things have been really picking up the last 30 days.
You guys have like 40 escrows right now, or somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah, we currently open escrows. We have 43 open escrows right now, and we're taking a listing like every other day right now.
Awesome. And then I know you guys have the Zillow offers account. You guys have the open door buying account, and then you work in REO. So I mean, I think your team will be fine through this.
Yeah.
Daniel, you're up next. So let's do a little bit background about when you guys got started in the business, and different brokers you're at. Were you maybe between 2006 and 2008 before the crash, and then where you were after, and then where you are now, and then we'll dive into deeper stuff later.
There's two Daniels, right? Me and Mr. Winkler.
Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, Ripper and Winkler. Today you're Ripper.
Okay. Hi, I'm Daniel Ripper, a real estate broker in the Bay Area. Been doing it since 2003. I work for Compass. I started with a small independent brokerage, became the broker of that brokerage, then franchised with Century 21. The 08-09 mortgage thing happened. I went on my own independent, had a lot of REOs. When that was done, I signed with another smaller franchise. Then started working with Kenny for a little bit at Climb, and now I'm at Compass.
Awesome. Carly, why don't you take us off next? So you're from, is it Jersey?
Can you hear me now? Okay, so I think I'm the only East Coaster here. I am from New Jersey. I actually got started in the industry back in 04, and back in the days where I could sell a house to a blind and deaf man. Anybody that had a pulse was eligible for a mortgage, and so it was very easy to sell. And then I went through the 07-08 crash and survived that. So basically, I started with a mom and pop, was with them for about 11 years, and then switched over to RE/MAX, and was with them for about 3 years, and just recently in October switched over to EXP.
Cool, thank you. I like your wallpaper. Is this your home office or your dressing room?
My home office. Actually, I was at the Realtor convention past December, and my staff put together this renovation, and this is hand stenciled. It's not a wallpaper. They literally made stencils and hand painted it. So they bougied up my office.
Nice, very, very bougie. Cool. Belfor, why don't you take us off?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. So my name is Mike Belfor. I've been in this industry as long as my buddy Daniel has, 2003, so 17 years. I started, with Wells Fargo down in La Jolla, San Diego. And then my career took me to Hawaii, took me back to the Bay Area where I'm from. And so 2003, as mentioned, it was a very interesting market then. It seemed like anything was able to be done. My focus then, luckily, was still FHA, VA. So when the market did crash in 2008, 2009, FHA was very prominent. And so we did a ton of FHA, VA loans for those that had low down payments. We survived that crash. We got through it. It was a little bit slower. As we all know, I mean, the market crashed, values crashed. And now, I mean, we're busier than we've ever been. We're still ratifying escrows right now. To give a comparison, I have 81 active loans in the pipe right now in my name, just because of everything that's going on. And we're still getting a lot of people still wanting to purchase a house. So I think it's a little bit different now than it was back then for that reason.
Cool, great. Thank you for the intro. Peter, why don't you give us a little bit about your background? We talk all the time on Instagram, and you have a lot of wealth of knowledge to share. And I post what you post, other people repost it. So, great to have you on today.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter WARDHANA. I got licensed in 1988 in the paper age. So during the first 10 years of my career, I had 1 normal year and 9 really bad years. So I got started and I learned the ropes of this business during a really difficult time. And people have asked me, so how do you pivot? I actually don't pivot because I've always operated like I was in a bad market. And I started doing really well in the 2000s, and I was with RE/MAX for 14 years. Then I moved to Keller Williams for 12 years, and since 2016, I've been back with RE/MAX here in Castro Valley.
Awesome. And then, you're not bragging about it. I know you're like a top 1% in RE/MAX, and for many of the years, you showed me some of your accolades. That was pretty cool before the crash.
Yeah. So during the first 10 years of my career, I was a starving agent. It was brutal, but that's really why I'm a very strong agent today, because of that. In 2003, I was, pleasantly surprised. I made it to the top 100 worldwide with RE/MAX. That was as a solo agent. Since then, I've done very well with Keller Williams. I've also broken into top 100 once, 200 a couple of times. In the offices that I'm in, I'm typically in top 1, 2, 3, or 5. In Castro Valley, in the last 10 years, consistently, I'm either number 1, 2, or 3 based on the numbers from the MLS. So I do sell a lot of homes. And I have survived the recession of the 90s, the dot-com crash, the aftermath of September 11, the last market collapse, and today.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is just a breeze for you. This is a staycation for 2 months, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Winkler, take us off.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Dan Winkler. And Peter, you got me beat by 1 year. I got licensed in '89. And then in 90, we had that RTC crisis. So like you, I've been through now 4 recessions or 4 corrections.
Yeah.
I think what you said, the most salient thing there was you got to always function like it's a bad market. You got to treat every deal with care and consideration and concern and cherish it, because you don't know when the next one is coming or how it's coming. Even if you have a business that's rolling, you got to act. Who was it? Andy Grove from Intel said, fear is a great motivator. So I'm with you on this, Peter. I've been through it, seen it, and, taken my lumps. We're a small brokerage in the East Bay. We have probably 20 agents that are really active, 37 under the medallion, 5 employees. We're not laying anybody off. We paid all the payroll. We even paid first quarter bonuses this month. So, I'm eager to be a part of the panel and hear what everybody has to say. I think it's a very interesting time. I do believe we'll get through it. And, I believe the fundamentals of the market are still there, and families are created. People get married, people get divorced, people have kids, people don't want to rent, and you're going to have some way of finding business and finding work if you want. So.
Well, awesome, Daniel. Karina, well, you're up next. So Karina is my amazing director of operations and a mentor to pretty much all my team members. And she has been in business for much longer than I have.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I'm the Director of Operations for Team Fast at eXp Realty. I have a pretty active life kind of behind the scenes of the team, and I like it that way. So this is a little bit nerve-wracking for me here, but it's okay because I got in the business in 2005, and you know, I was just a really young, hungry person and ready to rock. And I got to start with the Bailey brothers in Santa Cruz, and then I worked up to the East Bay at Berkeley Hills Realty with Tracy Sichterman, and I went to Red Oak with Andrea Gordon, and I've kind of learned from some of the best in the business over these years of how to, you know, weather any market and what to do in any of them. And I love passing that knowledge on. So thanks for having me, Kenny.
Well, thank you, Karina. Renee, you're up.
This is great. Thanks for having me, Kenny. Just quickly, I'm Renee. I live in Los Angeles, California, and specifically Hollywood. So I started in 2005, kind of like late 2005. I was an active, not agent, but person looking at real estate prior to that. So whoever said it earlier, you could like almost fog a mirror, you know, and sell and buy. And it was like 2007, I think August of 2007 when everything happened. And by default, I got an REO account. I was blessed, and that got me through some of the down times. We're a little bit insular here, so I still was able to sell resale here in Los Angeles, but did do a decent amount of REO. I learned a lot. I saw things I never wanted to see. I experienced things I never wanted to really experience. And it gave me a whole new perspective on empathy in this business, even in the last 10 plus years. So I am prepared for this, although it's not that. You know, people are saying, oh, you know, the 2008 market and this is similar. That's only the last down market we've been in. But I do believe that empathy and compassion are going to be highlights, you know, moving forward for where people are going to be. They are going to be losing their homes. We are going to see REOs and all that stuff. And I'd like to speak more about that in this call. But thank you. That's in short who I am.
Awesome. Thank you, Renee. Hilda, well, you're up. You're up next. You're on mute, Hilda.
Going away. Here we go. Thank you, Kenny, for having me. And I feel like I'm older than dirt in this group. I started in 1987 and did 1031 tax deferred exchanges for almost 30 years. And then I went into association management. And only recently, in the past 2 years, did I enter into the brokerage field. And I'm a manager of Keller Williams, Silicon City in the South Bay. And we have been really busy and having to adopt a lot of changes to acclimate to COVID-19. But I'm happy to say that we're working 100% remotely, have lots of virtual tours that we're hosting now, and just ready to take this next wave by storm. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Well, thank you, Hilda. Stephanie, I just got a hold of Stephanie yesterday, and late edition, but a lot to share. Stephanie, why don't you give us some of your background?
Good morning, Kenny. Thanks for having me, and it's nice to see you again. I haven't met you in person yet. I'm looking forward to meeting you after this is over. I started in the business in 1994 in the title industry. Didn't know a thing about real estate, didn't know what a title company was. I needed a job and started as a processor and worked my way up to, I didn't do escrows, but that was okay. Then I got in the sales team for the company, and then 2000, and this is by the way in Salt Lake City, Utah, that's where I'm from. I thought, you know, in 2000, hey, I'm seeing all these agents make all this money and I can do that as well. So I got my license in 2000 in Salt Lake City and sold real estate in Salt Lake, complete different market outside of California, the Bay Area. And then I decided to move to Walnut Creek in 2004. Didn't jump right into real estate because you can't just show up somewhere and start selling houses. So I joined Chicago Title's team, and 9 months later, I thought this is why I got my license. I hate this job. So got my license, that's 2004, well, 5, and worked 7 days a week. That's at that time peak market. And I did a deal with a local agent here that was my first transaction here in California. And I saw that he was getting into the REO market and asked me if I would join his team. And I thought about it. So I go for my interview in my beautiful purple skirt suit. And he said, if you come to work for me, you will not be dressed like that. So I decided to go to work with him. And then I sold REO from 2005 to about 2012. I built my own team and ended up selling 200 to 300 transactions a year. That was probably the most, or one of the most challenging times of my life, because like Renee, you saw things that you didn't think you would see. You experienced a lot of sadness, you know, taking homes. We didn't take homes from sellers, but we were right there on the front lines. So very hard. Since 2012, I mean, gee, after all that, selling close to 900 houses, I was exhausted. And so in the meantime, I did pick up some for investment properties during that time. So that's been very helpful. And I encourage anyone, if they haven't done that, start thinking about it. I'm going to be looking for those again here. Who knows what the market's going to turn into after this. But I'm always looking to better myself and, you know, working buyers and sellers currently, but we'll see where the REO market takes us again.
Awesome, thank you. I think, well, that's our round of intros. I've been licensed since 2009. I started selling real estate 2011, so I haven't been through a market cycle. So here I'm just moderating. Anyways, anyone like to share, like, where right now, where do you guys see the market moving right now? Anyone?
Go ahead. I actually think REOs, or some REOs, will come back. With all the job losses, I don't think everyone that had a job before will get their job back. Businesses are going out of business. So I think we'll start seeing some REO. I think it'll be a little more challenging. I think this market is good because it resets sellers a little bit. I think sellers have gotten greedy, and I've written a couple offers where we have lowballed the seller. Have we got rejected? Absolutely, but we're waiting. That property's still on the market. So I think it's kind of resetting the market a little bit. And I do think we will start seeing some foreclosures. It probably won't be at the rate that we saw them back in the last downturn, but that's my thoughts.
I agree with Stephanie. I think that you're going to have, unfortunately, some foreclosures and short sales hitting the market. However, I think it's not a housing crisis or a financial crisis. It's a medical crisis, and there's a lot of people that are holding off so they don't get infected and have people coming through their homes and things of that nature. However, once this starts to lift, as far as the quarantine is concerned, it's going to be a different turnaround than it was back in 07 and 08. And people will, you know, come back out and go and purchase and put their houses on the market once they feel it's safe to. And you're going to see a V curve instead of the slow climb like what we had from 07 and 08. Because based off of conversations with sellers, especially here in the East Coast, I know it may be a little different in the West Coast, sellers, buyers, they want to purchase, they need to sell. However, they're scared to get infected. So at this point, they're kind of putting a pause on things. And as soon as things start to clear out, they're coming back out full force. And that's just my opinion too.
Hi,
I agree with her.
Hi, this is Hilda. I think real estate, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say, I think every community and every market is very localized. And so some markets will have one experience while others may have quite another. We're very fortunate in Silicon Valley where demand still outweighs supply in most cases. And so we have to take a look at how the overall economy is going to be impacted and how that is going to affect consumer confidence across the board. This is not your typical setback. This is a setback that is affecting people worldwide. And we just recently noticed, obviously in the tightening of money, where everyone thought that those who lost money in the stock market were going to want to back mortgages, and that didn't happen. And the tightening of money has become profound, and I think that that will have an impact on the higher priced markets. So I think we've got a little bit of a shake through, probably the next 18 months at least, while a vaccine is identified and we can make sure that everybody's been tested and are going to be able to move forward with life as it should be here in the United States, most certainly. I'm not as optimistic as some that say there's going to be a straight V-shaped return, and I don't even know if we're going to have a U-shaped return. We were already predicting that we would have a reset and that it was coming, and at least I know in terms of our company, we've been preparing for that for the last 2 years. So we expected a setback. We just didn't expect it to be a worldwide pandemic. And so right now, health is our #1 concern, and making sure that we can keep our agents safe, our consumers safe, our clients safe is the absolute highest priority. And I'm just very grateful that we all have the technology that allows us to continue to run our business as resourcefully as we have in the last month.
I actually agree with Hilda, like wholeheartedly on pretty much everything. I've only been in this industry shy of 20 years, but coming from a mortgage background and what I've done in this mortgage industry, I can see the deregulation that came with Graham Leach Bailey in the late 90s, which added to the deregulation of the banking department, essentially, as we said earlier, these loans that really nobody qualified for. Well, after that, of course, if we back up into history, we had Dodd-Frank, which regulated what mortgages were doing, and basically, as we all know, tightened the belt as far as the lending parameters go, which we did need to an extent, right? What we've seen recently is qualified or non-qualified mortgages go away. So bank statement loans, bridge loans, the stated income loans are gone again, but we're still doing loans and we're still able to lend. And some of the things that I think we have to remember is we may see a dip. I was on the call that MBS Highway did with Ivy Zellman, and she was saying we might see 2 to 3% nationwide, but there are going to be some industries that are going to see more of that, right? And there's going to be some industries or markets that we have, like here in the Bay Area or throughout the majority of California and New York, where a lot of people still have their jobs and a lot of people are still working. They're actively working. These markets themselves may plateau. They may lose 2 to 3% or well. There could be other markets that lose 5 to 10%. It depends on where you are, what that employment looks like. And speaking about employment, one thing that I'd like to think or just kind of share, I know both of you just shared on that briefly, Hilda and CARLIE, but unemployment, we have to think about how many people are furloughed and how many people are truly unemployed. We won't know this number for another couple of months. So it's going to push some buyers out. But that being said, there is still, especially here in the Bay Area, a lack of inventory. So we had an abundance of buyers with a lack of inventory. And before this thing started, we're at a 13-year high as far as real estate sales as they were, with a lack of inventory. Now, even if people start stepping out of the market and they no longer are able to purchase because of a furlough or unemployment, there's still a ton of other people that were looking to come back into this market around this time because it's the buy season. So we should have an abundance of buyers, I think. And the question is, for maybe agents is, what are you seeing as far as listings go? Because we're going to need obviously some sort of supply for them. And if there's not a supply, basic economics in real estate would mean that home values could in turn go up rather than come down if there's too many buyers and not enough inventory, which we've been facing throughout the 9 Bay Area counties for the last 2 years. With the exception that we all forget about is the fourth quarter of 2018 going into that first quarter of 2019, when interest rates hit 5% again, that caused a decrease in values. We saw price reductions in many counties, in many areas that were anywhere from 10 to 15%. So that's, all these things play a role. I know it's a mixed bag, if you will, but my thought is, I think we might see a 2 to 3% depreciation, if anything, here in the 9 Bay Area counties. I don't think we're going to get a drastic cut like we did. And I really don't think the market's going to shift, other than maybe being a seller's market if we could get enough listings on the market.
You know, I also think the sellers actually have equity in their home. So it's not like it was when the bubble burst in 08, 07, 08, and all of a sudden they owed more than what the house was worth. Right now, they can afford to either hold off and weather the storm, or if they need to sell because they don't have a job, they can go on the market. And like what Mike was saying, according, you know, what the buyers dictate, if we still have a large amount of buyers like we do in the Bay Area, they should be able to sell their home. And if they don't have a job, then we'll see some kind of adjustment. However, even with a foreclosure process, we're looking at what maybe with COVID, probably anywhere from 6 months to a year before something happens. So if something like a vaccine comes along before that time, then we can rebound, hence like a U or V shape, in my opinion.
I think you're onto that. Something very important there, Mr. Ripper, is that today a lot of people that own property have equity in it. So while you'll see maybe a percentage increase in REO activity in 6 to 9 months, because it takes that long for it to flow through the system, a lot of people that are in trouble when this passes will put their home on the market, grab the equity they can and go rent until they can get back to work. So I don't see like this 07, 08, 09 REO inventory where in East Oakland there were 300 houses for sale under 100 grand. I mean, that was crazy times because they had any skin in the game. They literally, if they fogged a mirror, they got 107% loan, covered all their closing costs. They just paid the rent, and if it went up, great. If it didn't, here are the keys. As to inventory, Mike, you know, so one of the things that I think is really tough is morale for our teams, right? Because they're all at home. And Kenny's heard me say this now. This will be the third time I've done this at his little webinars. I try to give my team something they can hold on to think about when they come out of this. And so I try to distill it into 3 things, or 1 thing or 2 things. So the 3 things that I've been repeating to my team is, to your point, Mike, we didn't get our spring selling season. It's the busiest time of year for us, February to the end of May. That disappeared. Well, that demand didn't go anywhere. It just held in abeyance. So now you're going to add that into 3rd, 4th quarter demand. I think we'll have a great winter. It will be really busy. So buyers are still there. 2, nobody built 1 million houses. We need, what, 3.5 million in California? During the crisis, in fact, nothing was built. So there isn't this huge supply coming in from either foreclosures or short sales or construction. So you still have this constrained supply. Just really quick, today in Berkeley, there's 30 houses for sale, and in Oakland, there's 190. Oakland is a city of 450,000 people with 190 homes at any price for sale today. That's nothing. It's nothing. So there's no new supply. That's the second thing I say. And then the third thing I say is interest rates are historic lows. This is going to send buyers out. And I think the government and the leadership, the real estate industry is one of the biggest engines in our economy. It's so much tangential business out of a house sale, not just the commissions and the loan officers and the escrow officers, but cabinets, counters, gardeners, plants, everybody goes to work. They're going to put rates to inspire people to buy. And they're not going to give you 107% financing. You need to have some skin in the game. But those are the 3 things. So I tell that to my team so that they realize this is, like Kenny says, a hiatus for a couple of months, but when you get back, get ready. And I'm telling so that's the 3 things. And then the last thing is, and I'll mute myself because I tend to talk too much, is I'm telling everybody, go figure out how to do something you wanted to learn how to do. Distressed property, senior real estate specialist, be an Instagram expert, learn how to do Facebook, become social media savvy, hire people, go to webinars, take the time, learn something, and then go out and get exercise. I tell everybody to get out for a walk, because when the sun's shining, it's beautiful to be outside. All right, I'm off. I'll shut up.
Thank you, Daniel.
A little bit of passion.
How about Peter? Share some thoughts.
Sorry. So in terms of surviving this market, what I believe that the two most critical things in a market like this is, number one, to really keep your overhead low. I've always run a very lean operation, focus on return on investment. I only spend money on what's going to, what I believe has a really high probability of resulting in a sale. The second thing is that become a master in converting leads. And that's probably the key to my success, is that if you're really good at converting a lead using empathy and other skills, you don't need as many leads. You know, when the market is down, there aren't that many buyers and sellers. But if you're the one converting them and winning them over, then obviously you're going to get the sales. And then this is why I said earlier, I've never pivoted. And when the market is good and there's a ton of buyers and sellers, then by default, you sell a lot of homes. So what I believe is so critical is learning the art of converting leads. When I was a starting agent, I got very few leads and I had to convert them. And in addition to that, by running a very lean operation, it was very easy to survive and get through the difficult times.
Great, thanks for sharing that.
That's what I felt when I experienced the down market in 07 and 08. Like, it was so easy to come across business that I learned the fundamentals of being a realtor, but what I didn't learn, because there were so many leads coming at me, is the basics of like office management, as far as like having a CRM. And, you know, when the market turned, I was regretting letting some of those leads fall through the cracks because I didn't have the systems in place. So that taught me a lesson to implement systems. And this is the perfect opportunity where everybody should take advantage of this downtime and implement new systems, improve your CRMs, offer value, do your social media, learn as much as you possibly can, because when it does come back, you're going to have established relationships with people by showing compassion and empathy and being there for them, and just sometimes even being an ear for them to talk because they're home bored or whatever the case may be. And when the time comes, they will remember you and they will reach out to you and they will want to do business with you because they remember that you are always there for them and always reaching out in some way, shape, or form, whether it be email, text, phone, social media, whatever the case may be. That's how you're going to, you know, scale your business during this time, is basically being a resource for them. Even if it's just like, if you don't know the answer, you'll find out for them and you'll get back to them and inform them, because they may have concerns of, what if, God forbid, you know, my spouse passes away because he's in the hospital right now. Just being an ear for them and offering vital information right now is going to be critical in building your business and implementing the systems. Like now I'm working with my VAs and my ISAs to do different things that I had been tabling for so long because I was busy during the up market. Now's the time where I'm taking advantage to hone in on those systems, perfect them as much as I possibly can, so when the time comes, we can hit the ground running and we can manage the workload.
Also, Elmer, I mean, we've had you on a couple of these. You are a big systems guy, super effective team. I think you have like 7 or 8 people, best of Zillow badge on your team, which is really, really impressive. Why don't you talk more about like what agents should be doing with their systems and businesses right now?
Well, a couple things I wanted to touch on was, you know, when things like this happen, when the market crash happened back in 2007, 2008, that was the first crash I had ever been through. And I took it really hard. I got cleaned out. I lost everything. But the one thing I learned from being broke and losing everything is that you had to become really, really quick at making adjustments. So whether it was short sales, chasing REOs, loan modifications at the time, just whatever was presented to you, you had to become really good at making the adjustment and become really good at it. So when this adjustment took place, and we're at a point where some sellers don't want to show their house. They have their house on the market, but they're struggling with letting people in the home. So one thing we had to do was we had to start using video more, and we had to train our agents to start using video and just become more resourceful as individuals. And I think that's what will help you move through what we're going through right now. You know, your typical practices aren't going to really work right now. You're going to have to make some changes. So that's what we've been focused on. That's what we've been focusing on as a team, is shooting video. How do we make the product still available to the consumer, of taking a look at a home, being able to buy a home when it's not what it used to be 3 months ago. So that's our primary focus right now. We're doing everything CARLIE talked about just a little minute ago, with changes to CRMs, our database, fine tuning our systems is what we've been focusing on when we initially started. But the crazy thing is, and we were talking about the market earlier, is when this all first started and the whole stay at home launch back in mid-March, I immediately thought, okay, like, business is dead, nothing's gonna happen. And I think that first weekend when everybody was in lockdown was one of the busiest weekends that Zillow's ever had, because everybody's at home on their phones, just looking at homes and sending inquiries out. So then we realized, as the inquiries started rolling in, is the consumer was still wanting to buy homes. Consumers were still wanting to sell homes. Meanwhile, the real estate market or the real estate industry on Facebook was like, we're never going to sell a house again. So we quickly made an adjustment and we said, okay, what can we do to make sure we can still sell a house? We can still show buyers, obviously, safety first and health first. And what do we got to do to make sure that we can get the process going? And we made those adjustments. And now we've been able to start opening escrows. And next thing I know, we're on pace to still hit the numbers that we were projecting. I mean, they're going to fall a little bit short, but we're still on pace to hit the numbers we were projecting for April. So we're like super excited about the market again. Our mindset, mindset's been a big deal. We shifted our mindset. We're focused on bringing the consumer what they're looking for. And, we've been able to work wonders the last 30 days. So we're really, really excited about what's going on here.
Awesome.
Stephanie, why don't you share, what you're doing to adjust to this business? Because I feel like you've had experience with BPO, REOs, BPOs. Do you see your past banks reaching out to you, or are they even still in existence?
No, they are. I mean, they're not. I don't think they have a need for a lot of agents right now anyway. So have I got my information in their portals? Yes, I have. Like the last week. You never know. So if you do have any REO accounts that you're working with, I'd highly suggest having your E&O insurance and all that updated in their systems, because you don't know. That's a great client to have. But I don't think there's a need for a lot of agents right now for REO.
Let's talk about agent population. So I'll pull up later, but NAR showed that I think we're at about 1.4 million agents right now. And in 2018, there were about 5.38 million deals done. At the last crash, about 20% of agents, 25% left the market in the next 2 years after the crash. And it was a 7-year decline down past 900 agents. And then it started picking back up again. Now we're actually slightly surpassed where we are. Like where do you see the agent population at in this next cycle and ongoing after that?
Me, anyone?
Oh, anyone.
Well, always in a downturn, the agents that don't have systems in place or are not aggressive enough to go back out there or get out there and do what they need to do, they're going to get out of the market. You have these agents in the market that just get in to make a quick buck, and they don't really care about people or their clients, and they're going to go away because they don't know how to handle a downturn market or a different market. There's agents that don't know how to handle this sort of thing. There's agents who didn't do video. I honestly, before this, I didn't do a Zoom meeting. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to learn how to do a Zoom meeting. I'm a little stressed out. But this is a learning period for me too. I'm excited. This is a new way to do business. And I've done a lot of video for buyers recently, and they've said, great, thank you for going. We've changed their mind about the property. So I love this. It switches it up. It challenges us. I'm a person, I don't like to do the same old thing every day. So real estate's a great way. And if you've been in the business a while and gone through the trenches and it's a great way to build some character.
Yeah, I remember hearing on like a couple of different webinars. You know, a lot of agents are kind of treated as one step above used car salesmen. Pretty common theme, but now I think there's a really huge opportunity to revamp our overall brand imaging by being more empathetic and caring. You know, like some of the things that you guys pointed out earlier. Maybe someone want to touch on that some more. Like, are you guys, is rebranding something you're thinking of right now in your business? Not just systems, but rebranding.
Kenny, I'll speak to that a little. I don't know, rebranding might be a little strong. I know it's kind of semantics, but I'll speak to what I took on. So prior to any of this COVID stuff, I really looked to see where I could go narrow and deep, and probate is an area that I've taken on. And then I created a business kind of within a sector. And so I pick up where the lawyer leaves off. So really I am partnering with and supporting the personal representatives. And it's, again, kind of like a business within a sector. And it's taken a little bit, you know, to catch on. What I am seeing a little bit, it's a little too soon in terms of data and feedback. But what I am noticing is that right now, you know, the lawyers, for instance, like you want to get in front of the lawyers, not just the personal representative. And I have a system for all of this. So it's not just a shot in the dark, but I do cold call. And a lot of times I do pop buys, and now I can't do the pop buys and the cold calls usually of 2-3 gatekeepers deep. And now what I'm seeing is that the either they've been laid off, or I don't know if a furlough is the case, but you know, on hold. So the lawyer is picking up the phone. I can get right to the access person that I need to. So in a way, this is kind of a godsend. You know, I'm able to get to the person I need to more quickly. I would say just kind of overall, for the sake of what I'm hearing on this panel and for the people that will be listening to this, don't try and go do something that you just think is going to put money in your pocket. And I want to be gingerly while I say this, because I'm with the XP now, and I'm on their mentor board, and I've had a lot of mentees emailing me and texting me, hey, how do I do PPOs? I appreciate the enthusiasm. What I'm speaking to is take a step back, decide what it is you want to do, and just don't go down any old path. You know, if there's another way if you need money, I understand that, but you know, why are you doing anything? And make sure that who you're doing it for, including yourself, that you have a space of, I said earlier, you know, compassion and empathy. Because if the problem is why we're used car salesmen is that we come from a mentality very often of lack and knee jerk, and we weren't prepared. And so I'm just, you know, putting that out there as now that people are forced almost, you know, by choice or otherwise, to calm down, get quiet, go for a walk, as somebody said earlier, go for that exercise, and contemplate why you're in this business, contemplate where you see yourself in 6 months, a year. Lastly, I would recommend doing a 30-day plan, writing it out, either handwriting it or typing it, writing out your 30-day plan, 5-6 month plan before you know it'll be the end of the year, and like 5-year and 10-year plan, and read those darn things every day. Read them before you go to sleep. Let that seep into your subconscious, and these things work. This is not just, you know, woo-woo stuff here. I've always said real estate is the most non-denominational faith-based business that's out there. You've got to have some faith in yourself and in the process. So slow down, figure out what you want to do. And when you start to get knee-jerk reactions to things, just calm down and decide, again, why you're doing that.
Yeah, I can agree with you 100%. So I specialize in new construction. It's actually my forte. My first sale was a new construction home. And during the down market, a lot of builders that I had never worked with had heard about my sales history, and they were drowning in construction loan debt. Banks were recalling construction loans, things of that nature. And I found a niche during that down market in working with new developers, because it wasn't about me doing sales. It was about me keeping it very real with them and saying, you're building, excuse my French, like a shit product. Like, recreate the design, put a little bit more quality, pay attention to details. And they basically turned it over to me and said, fine, go sit with the architect, design the house, go pick out the finishes within this budget, so on and so forth. And houses started to move. And so then I became an asset for them. And I did it willingly, and, because I loved it and I was passionate about doing it for them. I didn't charge them extra. I didn't up my commission. I just did it to basically be involved with helping them get out of that rut. And I knew that it would turn into a reciprocal relationship later on down the road, hopefully. And it was something that I loved and was passionate about, creating something from nothing and to a beautiful home or an investment for someone. So that is very critical for you to, basically figure out what it is that you love, how you can be an asset to someone, and not thinking about the bottom dollar at what you're going to get if you do this for someone or for a client or for a developer or whatever the case is. You have to really get in tune with humanity, and especially at this point in time where there's so much devastation, like they will feel and sense you wanting to just basically earn a commission. You cannot be a salesperson. You have to be a human and connect with someone and help people, and karma will bring it back to you in the end.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Thank you for sharing that. It really coattails on what I was saying. With respect to anybody's dreams, with respect to people making money in the real estate umbrella, again, like you said, decide on what it is you want to do. Try and not be knee jerk. I know when we all have money issues, we're like, oh, we want to react to something. But I think aside from people dying of COVID, which is horrible, I think the general atmosphere, it couldn't be better. This is a freaking reset. It's a reset for real estate. It's an opportunity for us to be better and do better and have better, be, do, have in this industry, and really up our bar. Sure, people will leave and whatever the case may be, but how is this going to be in another 10 years? We all know people are going to buy and sell homes, right? And Kenny just threw out some statistics. Where's real estate agents going to be in another 10 years? That's what I'm posing the question. It may be the unanswerable question, but keep asking yourself that. Be, do, have better in this industry for people, and then for yourself, it'll come back to you.
Agreed. I agree with Renee. Everybody, is speaking to it right now, but I feel like this is just a really great opportunity to build trust and, get in front of your clients virtually, reach out, do as much as you can to, keep people's spirits up and active service. People will remember you as that person that reached out, that does care, that does, follow up, like from a genuine place, not from that ego or that money making or scarcity. This is the time to, show up for people.
I'm going to chime in a little bit on it and kind of take a different perspective for the moment. Yes, I think the agents who always do an incredible job for their clients will continue to do an amazing job for their clients. If I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me, Hilda, what's the difference between a shift and a regular market? And it's really the thinning of the pool, right? We see those that are in it for a cycle versus those that are making a legitimate career out of their business and building a big business. So we'll see some shakeout. I think I'm more personally concerned about the political climate and some of the rent control issues that we're dealing with, both locally and nationally. So I'm just going to make a pitch. For everyone who wants to stay in the game long term and have a career, and a very fruitful career in real estate, please make sure that you make a contribution to your political action fund, whether you do it locally or nationally through NAR. That's when we really need to support them to step up, because believe me, all of the language that's coming out nationwide, and you're seeing it every day in social media, has to do with inequities. Inequities of wealth, inequities of housing, inequities of, now it's health, and inequities in terms of something as trivial as food. And when we start having those type of discussions online and in the press and all forms of media, that's when the legislative and policymakers come out and take some really, they make random decisions. We've already seen it in some of the type, the money markets and wanting to freeze rents, those things really will make the market unstable, because you're not talking about homeowners, you're talking about investors. Investors, I'm sure Peter will agree, carry a tremendous value in our business. And so please, please, please make a contribution to your PAC. Get very active with real estate investors, reach out to your local apartment association, whatever you need to do. We need to be the voice for all real estate, and we have to be focused on protecting private property rights. And that doesn't always happen, and it gets lost in the seller's market. And I'll tell you right now, we have to be advocates for our business and our product is real estate.
Well said, Hilda.
Thank you. Just think so critical.
Yes, thanks, Hilda. I wanted to add, if I may,
Sure.
One thing that I've learned a long time ago, and this is really generic, you could say, what I'm about to say, is one thing that I really feel that agents really should emphasize is building their financial reserves, because that is the key to survival. What kind of reserve should people have? Maybe I'm overly conservative, but what I think agents should have is they should work towards building 2 years of living reserves, or 200,000, whichever is more. Because when you have good reserves, you can, get through down markets with no problem. Down markets are always going to happen. I mean, they have happened consistently, and they're going to happen again. We're all going to get through this market, but the key to getting through the future markets, the downturns, is to have strong reserves. And once we have strong reserves, financial reserves, we really need to build a highly diversified portfolio and not just invest in real estate. Real estate's good, but I know many agents who've gone bankrupt through their real estate investments. So building a highly diversified, conservative financial portfolio, building strong financial reserves, and living well below our means is one of the critical components to getting through surviving a down market and thriving.
I'm 100% in agreement with you, Peter. Really, there should be no threat to the U.S. economy if somebody's unemployed for 2 months. That's just telling us that there was a lot of falsehood already built into our economy. If someone has such narrow margins, they don't really have a business. They've been living paycheck to paycheck, and that's not a way to operate a business that then goes out and employs other people, because other people are making their living based on what they believe you have as a stable foundation. And we have to get back to the principles of saving, paying ourselves first, always making sure that we can keep the lights on for an extended period of time. And the old principle, right? At least how I was raised, is you replace your earned income with passive income as early and quickly as possible. And then you don't have to worry any longer. And we have to get back to that.
I agree. You have to have passive income, because you just never know where the market's going to go, and you have to have those reserves to carry you through. Marketing should not be cut off the budget. You have to continue with the marketing and everything else. Mm-hmm. So I think as realtors, a lot of them, they become realtors, and that's just that. It's just a job. It's not a business. They don't treat it as a business, and they should look into making investments and having multiple streams of income, because we're always going to have down markets, and you have to be able to sustain and stay in it, and by paying the bills and the employees and things of that nature. So if you create a business with the reserves, and then you have the multiple streams of income from investments or whatever other things you're getting involved in, you won't be anxiety stricken when these things occur. You'll still be fully functional, because you won't, that's one of the aspects you will not have to worry about, is the finances. So you'll just continue to be very focused and centered on your business and growing the business regardless of what type of market we're in.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
It's a cycle.
Well, I think it's, from what you guys are saying, I completely agree with all of you. What I'd really like to say is just take that further maybe to your clients as well. Because how many people right now are in these dire situations? And we know about the forbearance thing. They're going to forbearance slow. They know that this thing's going to really hurt them, and it's not going to be the best thing, right? So they have these reserves. I mean, I'm with Peter on this. You know, I think a 2-year reserve is super important. One thing I give to my clients is actually this book by Dave Ramsey. And I do recommend, if you guys haven't read this, share it with your clients, share it with other agents, read it yourselves. It talks about diversifying a portfolio, creating a budget so you can live below your means and set up the proper amount of assets that you would need to survive if a downturn happens. There's a lot of people falling for unemployment out of dire need. There's a lot of people taking advantage, unfortunately. However, we all could agree that if you have a nest egg or a reserve, regardless of what this does, you're going to be set up for success. And I think if you could actually have a chance to share this information with your clients, that's a great phone call in itself, because we're talking about sharing empathy and being there for our clients or a sphere of influence, whether it's a prospect, you know, a seller or buyer, just to reach out, see how they're doing, share some things that you're doing, even create a budget. You know, one thing that I like to do with a lot of my clients, especially, is creating a budget with them and going over like the necessities and just kind of just planting a seed even. They don't necessarily have to use it all right away, but they at least have a budget and know how they're, you know, essentially going to pay their bills and set up for savings and set up for success to diversify their portfolio. It's going to bring them years of success in the future, and they're always going to remember you. And that's just a great way, I think, to shift. And when you make those empathetic phone calls to check in on people, sharing that information, I think, would bear a ton of fruit, not only in your life, their life, but in the relationship that you have with them as well.
Mike, that's awesome. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kenny.
Also, we're approaching the hour mark. We have no one with an hour. Just last remarks. Like, where do you guys see prices going in our market this half year and next year? In the East, people who are more East Bay. I know someone in the South Bay talked about it, but we dove off that subject pretty fast.
I think we're going to see a slight adjustment down. How much depends on unemployment. I mean, just recently, you know, tech is still hiring in the Bay Area. So it may be a case of things staying the same as long as the rates are stable. One thing I wanted to say before we go out is, so I got in 03, 04, it was a multiple offer market. Things went upside down, 08, 09. Guess what? It was a multiple offer market. And this is in the Bay Area, right? Things started changing, and right before this new turn, multiple offer market. So as long as I'm thinking in the Bay Area, things have always been a multiple offer market. So as long as you take your business and you evolve that business, however it is, learning a new skill, you name it, I think you'll be okay. Whereas if you're going to just stay the same and wait for things to be handed to you or things just falling on your lap, then yeah, you're going to be out of the business. So speaking from a Bay Area standpoint, things are still going to stay busy no matter what happens, whether we dip a little bit or not. So stay positive with a good mindset, and you'll make it out of this.
So something along those lines, like a lot of agents, you know, they really need to learn to adjust, because before I was like, oh, there's not enough listings, there's too many buyers, and they get beat out on competition. But then in the last couple of years, there's actually at some points there's more listings than there were buyers, and then there's too many listings. I mean, there's always going to be a cycle. You need to learn to adapt your business to adjust to it. Is it too many listings or too many buyers? Like, you know, you just need to figure that out and adjust your skill set and conversations and scripts to meet the market.
I'll touch a little bit on what, and again, it's just my estimation on what's going to happen with the market here for the next 12 months. So as far as foreclosure goes, you know, we're not going to see the impact of foreclosures until 9 months from now. Like, a foreclosure still takes 9 months to hit the market. So we're not going to see that until the end of next year. But like, I forget who was talking about it earlier. Going into COVID, where there was a huge housing shortage in Southern California, there wasn't enough homes being built. There was a housing shortage because you didn't have enough homes on the market. So when we come out of it, that's not going to go away. That doesn't just disappear. I understand there's still unemployment still high, but there was still 5, 6, 7 buyers for every house that was being built or put on the market. So coming out of it, yeah, it might be cut in half, but you're still gonna have that. I don't think we'll see the impact from what's going on with the economy till 12 months from now. So there's a few indicators that we have to pay attention to. Obviously, unemployment being one of them. I'm more curious as to what's going to happen with the interest rates, with government buying all your mortgage-backed securities towards the end of next year, when we have to get more investors to purchase that and get back into that market. So that's going to be a huge indicator. I think that'll play a combination of some foreclosures hitting the market, interest rates not being able to stay where they're at for the rest of our lives, and when that adjustment will take place, and then the government purchasing all the mortgage-backed securities right now. That little bubble right there, towards the end of next year, I think will make the bigger impact than COVID is making right now.
I agree with Elmer as well. I think that are factors that we have to pay attention to, and that will determine in which way this goes. As far as, you know, with agents, what they should be considering in this downtime is definitely adaptation, as Kenny had said, and consistency. You don't just do cold calling or follow up with your customer base, you know, once a week. You do it every day as much as you possibly can. Your marketing effort as much as you can consistently. And as far as the pricings are concerned, I think that you are going to see a little bit of a dip, only because there's not as much activity taking place. But as soon as these numbers continue to decline and we're kind of released slowly out of quarantine, you're going to see it flourish back up, in my opinion.
I think it depends on the market though, what area, like in the Silicon Valley. Yeah, the tech industry is keeping that market going. When you look at maybe our East County, like Antioch, Pittsburgh areas, or maybe some parts of Richmond, where people are not more than likely in the tech industry because of that commute, you might see those markets go down because of the unemployment rate.
Yeah, I was also going to say, I think the markets that are going to be impacted most from all of this are going to be the markets where people were buying second homes, so vacation homes, second homes. None of that stuff, all that can pretty much go, you can count on that freezing for now until we get some stability. So the stock market, obviously, we've seen what's happened to it. So people's investment in dollar has decreased. So they're not going to go and buy a second home or a vacation home right now. So maybe in California, I've always said California is like its own economy, right? And I'm sure everybody probably agrees here. But like the Arizonas, Vegases of the world, Texas, where people were traveling to buy a second home, I think those markets are going to see an immediate impact because a lot of dollars were coming out of the East Coast, the West Coast. So that's where the impact's really going to be felt, I think, almost immediately.
Well, any last remarks before we can go at it for that 5-10 minutes? Any last remarks from anyone?
I have
Kenny,
one. Just one.
Oh, go
Just
ahead.
one, sorry. Educate your clients on forbearance. That's all I got to say. Because forbearance, the way it's being disguised, make sure your people know exactly what forbearance could do to their mortgage situation. That's kind of it. And, you know, I have, you know, servicing letters and, you know, offers from, you know, the big banks. If you guys want any of those, let me know. I can send them to you. But make sure your clients are aware that, you know, forbearance items could create a balloon payment for them in turn. And by doing so, that could stimulate more foreclosures, scenarios, and things that would actually hurt our market rather than benefit from it with everything else going on. So just getting in front of that would be huge. And yeah, if you need anything on that, I have a ton of data on that to share with you. So let me know.
And Kenny, I talked a little bit more about the empathy and compassion side of things, less numbers, but where I would have anybody who's watching this start is Chris Voss in the book he wrote, Never Split the Difference. I coach directly with Chris Voss. And if anybody doesn't know who that is, he was the chief negotiator for the FBI. The man knows how to talk to people. So this is a place to start. Either get the book, read the book, study the book, read it again, read it 5 times.
The Audible, he reads it.
The Audible's good, and my recommendation with that is listen to the Audible while you're reading it. It isn't just another book to sit on the shelf. It is really an application, and double that up with watching as many video podcasts. He does a lot of that online. That's just the beginning of chipping the iceberg on emotional intelligence. And I believe this is the atmosphere that we're moving into. So it's not just about real estate. It's actually talking to people and not about sales or being salesy, but how to talk to people.
What's the book called, Renee?
Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, V-O-S-S. And his group, you can, when you I said Google, but when you are on YouTube, put in his name, a bunch of podcasts that he's been on are there. And his company is called the Black Swan Group. I think it is Black Swan Group. You can Google that. And he puts out a free newsletter every week. It's very informative.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I'll look forward to that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And please hit me up if you guys want to do any practice with that kind of stuff.
Thank you. I
Awesome.
definitely would like to do that.
I think, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So if we look at what's happening in the Bay Area, Facebook's already made an announcement and they will not be hosting any large gatherings for the rest of the year. Their gatherings will be limited to no more than 50 people. So that's going to take them out of many of their major hosted events. I know that I believe Mrs. Chan, who's Mrs. Zuckerberg, is a doctor, and so they're taking really, really strong precautions in terms of their workforce. Their workforce will not return to campus or any earlier than June 1st. So I think a lot of our market will be driven by consumer confidence, liquidity of funds, and how quickly we find a vaccine for COVID-19. We are surrounded by a lot of tech individuals, but we are also surrounded by some of the greatest intelligence in the world. And so they share information very freely, and they're all knowledgeable, and they're probably spending a lot of time with Bill Gates these days and are really on top of this pandemic, probably to the lights that we've never seen. So just, make sure that you stay on top of economic reports, find someone good to follow who knows the local market, local numbers. I mean, at this moment, we can't even, our MLS is not a resource because the counter has been stopped. So you really have to, keep your ears and nose to the ground and have a pulse on the local market. Thank you, everybody.
I think it's really important to be on these webinars and to learn a lot, but don't forget that don't spend all your time on webinars. Go out, contact your clients, implement systems. Because someone's kidding around. It was a KW agent friend of mine. He was like, great job distracting all these agents. Now they're not calling their clients. So don't just do this all day long, which I'm doing. But anyways, that's just a pick.
Yeah, you still have to do the activities.
You still have to do the actions.
Yes,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people out there that are still very interested in real estate. We're just trying to share some of our knowledge with those that haven't gone through one of these cycles. It's nothing different than the other cycles. This one's just a little unique because of the health component. And let's face it, at the end of the day, that's what's most important in our lives. Our health is our ultimate wealth, and we can always make more income, and we can always get a side hustle if it comes down to that. So let's just focus on our health, and everything else will sort itself out.
Also, any more last remarks?
I'll do one quick one. Nobody's stopping you from getting in your car and driving around the neighborhoods. I mean, I say that because I live in LA. It's easy to do that. But go be proactive. Figure out, is there another neighborhood you want? Do you know the businesses that are there? You don't have to keep talking per se to everybody. Go look, go see, go immerse yourself in that. I've been walking a lot in neighborhoods that I never would have walked. Walk, get out of your car, go look, go see. This is a time to educate yourself right now. Great opportunity to do that.
Cool. Well, thank you for everyone for joining us today. I learned a lot, so we'll probably be listening to this again. This will be up on YouTube within the next hour. Feel free to share with anyone you think could find this beneficial. And then I'll be right back in half an hour with a really cool Contra Costa County mastermind. I literally have nothing else to do but these, so I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Be well.